Right, we've come for a walk up to Wepper Park in North Wales. This park is in the Domesday Book. It's extremely ancient woodland, and it was bought in the late 1700s, 1770s by a family, and they built a big hall here called Wepper Hall. That survived until the early 1960s when it was ripped down. The family, I think they either sold it or it was repossessed or whatever by the council when the family died out. I'm not quite sure the correct history for the place, but nonetheless it ended up in the council's hands and they turned it into a block of flats in the late 50s, and it was torn down probably about 5 years later because it was going to cost too much to repair or whatever. I think the local people were given the choice at the time: keep the hall or have a swimming baths built, because lots of the kids were swimming in the River Dee at the time and drowning, so they chose the swimming baths. I think Conisky Nomads train here. I think their actual ground's at the local college, because they've got a little shed there saying FC Nomads, but I think it's just for training. I think they play on there. So little kiddies play park, and there's a visitor centre here now. I'm not quite sure if it's open or not at the moment because of the pandemic. I don't know. Possibly. Visitor centre is just there ahead, between those gates. Those old gate posts are the original ones belonging to the hall, and over time the council has restored the gardens from the old hall, with environmental things being popular these days. They're trying their best to tidy the park up and keep it as natural as possible. For years it was fairly uncared for. It was just left. The paths were virtually impassable in many places. You used to have to be an expert in mountain climbing to get to the castle. You had to climb over the brooks. There weren't any bridges and things like that, but over the last 30 years or so they've spent a lot of time and effort to get the place more pedestrian friendly, and I'm not quite sure if it's quite wheelchair friendly yet. I suppose some of the park is, but I don't think you'll be able to get as far as the castle. Now there used to be a few monkey puzzle trees here. There's still a couple left, I think. It used to be a thing in the Victorian era, I think. People used to grow them. A lot of the foliage that was originally here has been taken away because it wasn't natural. There's a pond just up that path there called the Rosie. Yeah. And the Rosie was called that because it was surrounded by rhododendrons that the family, the Trevor, I think it was, family had put in, but they've all been removed because they're not natural. Though they have been there for a couple of 100 years. So. Seems a bit late in the day to remove them. Here we've got the visitor centre. It does look like it's open actually.
Well, that's takeaway only, I think.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Toilets and cafe takeaway only, apparently. You get yourself an ice cream. It's only about -2.
Oh, you can get hot chocolate or coffee. Jacket potatoes, sandwiches.
A defib on the wall. That's quite useful. Hopefully it's maintained.
Yeah, that's takeaway only. So. You do a gift shop if they have home stuff.
Now available soup of the day, only £3. Looks like the door's getting locked. And it is about 4 o'clock, I'm assuming now, is it? Ish. 15:53, yeah, so it must shut about 4 o'clock. You can just see in the distance over there one of the bridges that's been put in to go over the brook. And there's a bit of work going on there, a few trees being cut down. That bridge didn't exist when I was a kid. Ah, monkey puzzle trees. Here we've got the Hall Gardens. There was an animal graveyard here when I was a kid. That had a lot of headstones for the pets of the Hall owners. And I think it still does exist, but its location has varied a bit over the years. It has moved around a few times. And there's our monkey puzzle trees. I'm not the world expert on them, but I think that they take quite a long time to grow. And I don't know if that's the original fountain. I think that is a modern day reproduction. Because there was a fountain here, but I think it got took to the... I'm not quite sure what they're called. There's something gardens where the bowling green is in Shotton. Ceremonial Gardens or something like that. In Connosquay, sorry, not Shotton. And once it was down there, I seem to recall it getting damaged by vandals back in the 70s, 80s. Anne-Marie spotted an information thing, I think. Oh, it's a photo of the hall. That's roughly where the hall would have stood. And the gardens, you can see the fountain in the background there. Well, that fountain is there. Like I say, I think that the one that's here now is just a reproduction. But the hall would have been would have been there basically. I think the cellars from the hall still exist. I've spoken to some of the rangers here in the past, and they tell me that the whole cellar is still intact, and they just store equipment in there. It's nothing exciting, but it's still there. So there we have it. That's where the hall would have been. Okay. We can see the thick woodland in the background there. That's all the old ancient Wepper woodland. The if you follow that route across there, down that bridge that I mentioned a moment ago, you'll come out in a place called Killings Lane in Shotton. So that'll take you down to Killings Lane and then to Shotton Lane. You go down Shotton Lane and you'll come out on the road that leads you to Queen's Ferry, etc. There are absolutely dozens of ways into the park. Most people come in the car park in the bottom there, and they walk up towards the castle, but there are absolutely tons of ways in all over the place. Most farmers' fields and public footpaths in the area have got a link into Wepper. Most locals will know all the different ways in. Like, to get to the castle, a lot of people park and walk up, but there is a far quicker route if you park up in Ewloe. Follow the public footpath to the castle. You don't have to go climbing up hills and stuff, and you're at the castle in about 5 minutes. Starting to snow a little bit at the moment. Got another monkey puzzle tree, and this archway was put in recent years. That's a modern thing. It's only been put in the last few years. I'm not quite sure what the standing stone is all about. Maybe someone can leave a comment or something, perhaps. If anyone ever watches this, they might have an idea whether it's a ceremonial thing or if it's just something that the Rangers have put in to look pretty. I don't know. But as you can see, they're trying their best to tidy the gardens up and leave it as natural as possible as well, you know. I've got to admit, I don't know what most of this stuff is, but I'm sure a few people will have a bit of an idea. I think they're trying to encourage wildlife back in, you know, like newts and what have you, as well, further down by the brook and the Rosy Pond. Trying to make it as wildlife friendly as they can, which is great, really. It'd be interesting to see what the place looked like back when the hall was here. There's still a lot of people remember the hall in the local area. My fiance's dad knows about the place because he used to deliver milk there for Hanson's Dairies back in the 1950s. And this is the structure that they've built. It's alright for a photo opportunity. There's a few holes in there, so I wouldn't expect it to shelter you from the rain very well, but it's more than likely because they've been ripped off by vandals. There's a little ornamental pond up here. These little benches that they've put in, I've got things like that one over there says the life cycle of a frog. This one's got the life cycle of a newt. And it's nice to see that people haven't vandalised them. Touch wood. Right, here's the pet graveyard. Only a few gravestones in here. There were others that have been vandalised over the years, and there was a few also that had names that probably wouldn't go well with the modern way of thinking, so they've been put away. Vic had a fit, died quick. Poor Vic. Died in 1895. Mrs. Elizabeth Pawser. Rags, gentle and true, poisoned through. Love me, love my dog. Died 1900. Morgan, he was killed, 83 years old, 1883. Slow mover, run over, it says. Rector, age 4 years, shot 31st of March 1890. 8 without stint, lamb without mint. And then you've got some old stones on the floor. Key kit, I can't read that one very well. Died 1905. Well, key is dog in Welsh, isn't it? So maybe Kit the dog. Small trees either fallen or been cut down. Look at the size of that rascal. Bet he could have told you a few tales if he was still going. A gate leading into here. That's it's a more modern affair, that, but I think the actual gate post is old. Okay, pause there for a sec. Okay, back on. Just have a plod through this gate. Yeah, I don't fancy that one, but the top route is alright. Until a few years ago there was actually a golf course here. It was only a little Mickey Mouse thing, about 6 holes or whatever, but people used to come knock a few balls around up here. But it closed and it's been left to get reclaimed by nature. There's trees growing on it now and what have you. You can sort of tell ish what it used to be by its design, but It's mostly gone now. Bit muddy here. The last time we came here it was pitch black and Anne-Marie fell over and got covered in mud. See, this was all part of the golf course. Which is now gone. That leads down to the main entry in the road at the bottom. Okay, follow you. This could be comedy gold because either of us could end up having a bit of a mud bath. Hopefully not. There's a few abandoned nests knocking around from last year. Hopefully they'll be filled back up again soon. Hopefully 2021 2022 might be a bit of a better year for everyone, fingers crossed. I'd like to go take this out and do a bit of filming in other areas. Haven't really had a chance, only got it at Christmas, this camera, and only be able to walk around really the local area. And hasn't working a lot, it's generally pitch black most of the time, so you don't get a lot of opportunity to film in daylight, so just grab it while you can. We're heading now towards the Rosy Pond. Like I say, the rhododendrons have all gone, and the fishing club that runs it has blocked it all off. During this pandemic season, so how close you can get to it now I don't know. It never used to be blocked off. You used to just walk up to the pond and film the unusual birds and that were swimming around on there, but the pandemic's changed life a bit, maybe only for the time being, who knows. Mind you, once people get used to new ways of doing things, they might continue, I don't know. Let's see, you might be able to get close-ish to it, I'm not sure. I've not been since they put the blockade or whatever it is around it, so I'm not even quite sure what it consists of. Looks a bit slimy here, love. I'm not sure. Do you want to try over there? Yeah, there it is. Just ahead. It doesn't look like they've done much to me. It looks as though they've just put a wire fence around it or something. So you'll still be able to see the birds and what have you. Hasn't got like a 6-foot high wooden fence around it or anything. I can hear the ducks complaining. If I'd have thought on, I'd have brought some bird seed with me. See a squirrel there, mixed in with the ducks. I don't know if you can see him. There's a bird on the tree there. I won't get too close because he might be warning us off. He's building a nest or something. Oh, someone has brought some duck seed and squirrel. The squirrels are tucking in. Yeah, so you can still get fairly close to the pond and the wildlife. I wasn't quite sure what to expect because I've been told there'd been a barrier put up, but it's not too bad really. Get a bit closer if I can. Don't want to scare them off though. Normally on a visit to the Rosy Pond, we walk around this path that leads around past the fishing spots. There's never usually any, or at least many, fishermen here. Not when I've come up, at least. You might get one or two if you're lucky. It's usually fairly quiet. But at the moment it's locked off to the general public. You could sneak in and have a walk around, but I won't. I'll respect the rules. Oh. But there's the Rosy Pond now. Like I say, this used to be surrounded by rhododendrons. There were tons of the things all the way around the pond, and over the years the rangers have dug them up and tried their very best to get rid of them. I think that they've done a reasonably good job. I'm sure there's one or two still cropping up here and there because, like I say, the entire place was heaving with them. That's why it was called the Rosy. But they have done a sterling job in getting rid. See, someone's put some seed down here for the ducks, and the squirrels are getting in on the action. More hens and whatever else is knocking around here. I'm not really a wildlife expert. Is that one there squeaking away a moorhen? I'm not sure. Is that a moorhen noise? And the squirrels and ducks have scarpered over there while we're here, so I'll clear off now and leave them to enjoy the rest of their seed. I have to remember, I've got some at home, love. I'll have to fetch them. Make sure it's alright for ducks and what have you. It's alright for sparrows. Just pause for a sec. There we go, my gimbal was going a bit wonky. It's starting to snow and rain, sleet a little bit here now. Hail of some kind, you can see it bouncing on the ground. The ducks don't seem too bothered. I think they're heading back now. As you can see, we've cleared off and they've gone back. Let's see if I can get this to zoom. They've gone back to tucking into their seed again now. Now we're out their way. And these guys over here have cottoned on. There's some scoff to be had, so they're heading that way as well. There's the path that leads down to the children's play area and back to the main entrance again. In some ways it is good that the place has got gates on, etc. now, because it stops kiddies wandering off from there unseen and falling in the pond. And you can still get close if you want to get a photograph or two with the ducks or whatever, so it's not any major tragedy, but it's locked off as it is. It'd be a shame if they put a massive huge fence around so you couldn't see, but they don't seem to have done that yet, so no real cause for concern there. And the spaces are luckily already COVID safe because they're set out so you're not going to get your lines tangled up and what have you in your net, so good little COVID friendly sport. I'm not quite sure what they've got in there. I'm assuming it's, you know, roach and tench and perch, something along those sort of lines. I've never fished the Rosy. Yeah, it's not one that I've ever been to. It's at an old brickworks I used to go to, but that was 30 years ago. Oh, what are these ones called? They're not rhododendrons, they're oh crikey, I can't remember the name of them. They grow massive anyway, and the stalks on them get really thick, and they're a bugger to cut down once you've left them go wild. They get like about 20-30 foot high. Nope, name's gone, can't remember. The other side of the pond. It's fairly quiet at the moment. I think all the wildlife's cottoned onto the seed at the other end. No fishing without a permit. Permits available from Deeside Fishing Tackle. 01244 813 674. So there you go. No keep nets. Oh right, okay. Obviously you don't have keep nets here. So it's just a case of catch and chuck back in. I can sort of understand that, because I remember from olden fishing days, sometimes you get fish that die in the keep nets, so it's probably kinder to let them off again. Another squirrel snuffling about by the tree there. He's probably got some acorns hidden at the bottom. The blackbird just by me, is it? Where's he gone? Oh, there he is. Blackbird. Someone's released the hounds by the sound of things. Good view of the pond down here. And in the distance, right at the other end of the pond there, the ducks and squirrels etc. are all teamed up, polishing off the rest of that seed that someone's left for them. Very close, as you can see now, to housing. See the housing there? When I was a kid, none of that existed. It was still farmland and fields and what have you, but in the last 30-40 years or so, a lot of housing development has been granted in the area. A lot of farmland has been converted to housing. Vast swathes of it up the top of an area called Mold Road. Nearby to us, that used to be purely fields, and that's all gone now. That's all housing now, sadly. Right, I'll pause that now. Just a quick one. I just spotted this. Feed with birdseed, keep the ducks healthy. So you are permitted to feed the ducks with birdseed. So if you've got any, fetch them along. Here we go, let's take a better look at this now. There's a fish at the bottom there with a curly mouth. I thought it was salmon that had curly mouth. Right, let's have a nose, see what we can see. Full adult membership is 35 quid. Old age pensioners 15 and juniors are 15. If you're under 10 it's a fiver. The Connosky District Angling Club. There's a whole host of bailiff numbers there that you can call. I'm sure you can get the local fishing shop, like Deeside, whatever it was, on that other sign over there, Deeside Angling or whatever. Species of fish they're catching here: roach, rudd, bream, tench, ide, gudgeon, common carp, mirror carp, crucian carp and eel. Yeah, so there's a few bits and bobs in there. In order to fish here, you must have a valid licence issued by the Environment Agency, as well as a day ticket or membership ticket purchased from the Fishery Management. Fishery bylaw is available on the notice board on the website, or can be obtained from the people in charge of the fishery. Connosky and District Angling Club. They have got a Rosie Wepper Park on Facebook, and they've got a web address there, www.connoskyanglingclub.com. So if you want to go fishing here, give those guys a bell or an email, and right, so I'm going to leave the Rosie Pond now and head on up to the top. In the autumn you get a really good photograph up here, because all these brown leaves that are now on the floor are on the trees and they look fantastic. You can get a really nice photo up this path. The daylight's starting to go now, so might not get to the castle today, but we can always come back.
Go there now if you want.
Will we make it before the daylight's gone?
Don't know. Before we go to the castle, go round, go back.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's where you get your photo opportunity, up in those trees there. There isn't, to be honest, a great deal up there, just trees. But you do get a nice photo, especially in the autumn.
Okay.
Okay, let's see how far we get towards the castle. Like I say, the daylight hours are starting to vanish now. What time is it now, love? Do you know?
Yeah. 16:43.
So it's 4:45. So yeah, it's gonna be gone probably 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so. I mean, this little camera's got a reasonable sensor on it, so it'll pick up a bit, but I suppose we can do a bit of the walk, can't we? We could always come back when it's light. Looks like the ducks and squirrels have had enough seed for now. Bellies are full, they've cleared off back to their nests. A couple of pigeons flying around. That angry thrush seems to have gone, or wherever he was. Right, so I'll pause filming here because we've already seen the mud. Right, we've walked across the golf course.
Yeah.
And we're heading back into the woods.
Yeah.
Across the least slimy route, which is a bit tricky because every route's a bit slimy at the moment. Gonna have to get the spiders out my wellies, I think. Still quite cold today. It's about 2 degrees, 1 or 2 degrees, and a bit chilly. Snowing still a little. Whether it'll turn into proper snow, I don't know. We've been told that the beast from the east, part 2 or something, is arriving this week. We'll have to see. I'd advise, if you are coming up here, probably best not to come in high heels because it is a bit wet and slimy, and that's a good bit, to be fair. So make sure you come in adequate footwear, I suppose. I can hear the brook already. There's also a waterfall, and I think that the hall used to use the waterfall to generate electricity for the hall. There were bits and bobs left for many years to suggest that, but I think it may have all been removed now. I'm not sure if there's anything left. And there's the gardens again. It's starting to hail a bit now. go. So it's a Sunday today, so in the visitor centre we're shutting at 4, so I'm not sure if it's earlier today or if that's a standard sort of shutting time for the visitor centre. Quite surprised that it's open at all, to be honest, but I think they do serve food and they have toilets there for people, so that's kind of handy to know. Ewell Castle is on the right here, and Wepper Brook is down straight ahead basically, and the waterfall.
That way or that
Do
way?
you want to have a quick look at the waterfall? I mean, we could even just have a quick view from the top if you want.
No, go there.
Yes, yeah, there is a lower path. This is the high path up here. This is the path that sort of generally existed for many years. I can remember the visitor centre being built, but that has been there since probably the early, maybe mid 1980s. I remember when it wasn't there though, but in recent years they've put this bottom path in. Now I'm not sure how long that has been there for. When I used to come down here regular, it wasn't here, so it's probably a 2000s edition. These steps here are very steep and quite muddy at places, so if you're not that good on your feet, I'd suggest keeping away from these and sticking to the top route up there, or as Anne-Marie was saying, if you go a bit further along to the left, there is another route down to these that isn't quite as steep. It is snowing at the moment, but it is quite fine snow. And here is the waterfall. Someone built that wall with the gap in because years ago it used to just go pouring right along the top. And one of the ways to get across to the other side, see, you got that wooden bridge there now. Looks like they're having a bit of trouble with subsidence at the moment, but that bridge was built in the 80s because before that you used to have to go through the brook, across stepping stones, or climb precariously across the top of the waterfall. Because I remember my dad crossing the waterfall to get over to the other side because there wasn't a bridge there. But it's looking quite well at the moment. It is starting to get a little bit dark now, and this is only a little tiny camera, so it might not pick up that well. But the aperture's, I think it's 1.8 or something, so it's not that bad, or 1.7. So it's not terrible. Get a bit of waterfall noise now. Might be able to get a bit closer with the stick. Again, they've been tidying quite a lot here. Making it easier for you to get up there. I mean, this used to be a scramble to get up the side of the waterfall once upon a time. It's very open here now, and they're making it a bit more open. Got a robin sat on top of that green bush. Don't think that the camera will pick him up that well at this time, but you can see him. He's watching me. I'm not sure if you'll see him. He's flying towards me. He's giving me a warning to clear off. I'll leave him be. Not quite sure what's happened here, whether it's subsidence or if it's just vandalism or rot, I don't know. But the fence, the wooden fence, has gone. I don't know. This is Wepper Brook. And this comes from the mountains over the waterfall. It heads off down here and it goes down to near the Cenotaph in Shotton. There's a bridge that goes across the brook. Well, this is the brook that bridge is built across, and that then heads off out into the River Dee. And it's only a little brook, but as you can see, there's a bit of power in it, especially during the winter. Okay, battery's running a little bit low, so I've got it on charge at the moment while I'm using it, so I can't move it about as much, taking it off the selfie stick. Hopefully it behaves. Also, I've recorded this entire video in 1080p, so hopefully it'll come out alright. We'll have to see. If it's not very good, we'll have to revisit in 4K. Okay, it's starting to get a bit darker now, but might be able to get a bit more footage before the light has gone. Luckily I've brought my torch with me, so we'll be able to get back reasonably safely, hopefully. Brook Walk. Yeah, Brook Walk didn't exist when I used to come up here many years ago, 80s, 90s, etc. But it's been put in as a feature, like I say, to help people who are a bit less able on their feet, perhaps. Now, I'm not quite sure how it used to work there. The water used to go across the very top, so there may have been a door that they plonked down. Where that little gap is where the water's coming through now. Because I've seen this full of water, and I'm assuming that little door there may have been something to do with the generation of electricity, but I'm not really sure. But it certainly used to come out over the top. There's a little bird there. I'm sure there's all sorts living in the reeds here. Probably where you get your newts, etc. There's an information panel coming up here, see what that says. This one says, life in still water. The pools may look calm, but beneath the surface, hundreds of tiny creatures. Many too small to see. These are food for the other animals that are in turn eaten by larger predators, including fish and birds. Damselfly nymphs and toads, dragonflies and other things. I'm sure you get a few toads and frogs and what have you lurking in these little pond areas. It's a nice little walk here because it brings you a bit closer to nature, I suppose. It's quite a popular place now, Wepper. When I was a kid, if you were walking through Wepper, this is what it was like. Silent, there was virtually no one here. It was almost as if it was your own private woodlands, but it's changed in very recent years, really, because there was an article in the Manchester Evening News and Liverpool Echo, and since then a lot of people have been coming from out the area to visit. So it's a bit more busy than it used to be. And I must admit, I can't remember all these little channels being here years ago, but I could be wrong. It's probably just that I was up on the top there and not noticing. Any toads in there? Can't see any. a few more months it'd probably be something here. As it starts to warm up, it's probably a bit too cold at the moment. We're verging on 0 degrees and snowing, etc. I'm not quite sure when the toads start to breed. Is it March or something? Here we go. Life around the Wepper Brook. Marsh marigolds thrive in the damp, shady areas around Wepper Brook. Wild garlic too. Well, I can't smell any wild garlic yet, but you definitely tell when that's around. And the pipistrelle bat. Look out for the strange stems of great horsetail, a plant that has been around since the dinosaurs roamed, and once used for scouring pots and pans. Crikey. On warm evenings, bats hunt along the brook. Well, they won't be out tonight then, because it's bloody freezing. No, I definitely can't smell any wild garlic yet. There's a squirrel across the way, down for a drink. He spotted us and hiding under the log, I think. He's off up the bank there. Birds are going home. Can't remember if we ever been on this one though, the lower one. Have we? I can't remember coming down here, but my memory's not the best. So we've got plenty of brook. I mean, even when it's even with people, it's still a nice little walk down here, to be fair. Definitely worth coming down, and you can always skip across to the other side and, in warmer times, stick a blanket down or something and sit down and watch the water going past and the animals flittering about all over the place. The only thing I'd ask is, if you do that, is take your rubbish home with you. Another little notice. More life in Wepper Park. A bullhead crothel. He's an ugly looking thing, isn't he? Bullheads lie in wait for insects and even small fish on the brook bottom, well camouflaged. Crikey, so there you go. There's a dipper as well, a variety of bird. And stonefly nymphs, I think I've seen those. I can't see any bats flying around just yet. Probably too cold for them. We're back up now on the higher level. I think they've done work over the years on these banks, because these used to be always in the path. I think they've done some strengthening work and they've cleared the paths. The paths are a lot wider now than they were at one time, and less likely to slide down into the brook, which is nice. Looks like there's a beaver bin at work there, but I think it's more likely park rangers. We haven't got any beavers down this end of the woods, though they have released them recently in certain areas of the country, and they've built a dam. There was a thing in the news a few months ago about the successful reintroduction of a family of beavers. I can't remember what area of the country it was, but it wasn't round here. But the scientists and the environmental people were really chuffed that the beavers had built this dam, taking back the river. There's a notification here. It says 7p. Now, I don't know, but it may be part of the guidebook that the park used to release. There used to be there may even still be a guidebook that you could pick up from the visitor centre, and it had numbers on, and when you stopped off at the numbers it told you exactly what these things were. So if you do come, it might be worth grabbing hold of one of those while you're here. It is starting to get quite dark now. I'm quite surprised the camera can pick up still in this kind of light. The trees are quite close up there, and it is starting to get a little bit dark. Let's pause here for a sec. Okay.
Yeah.
Now it is about bat o'clock at the moment, but it's probably too chilly for them. I'll keep an eye out for them though. Staying lighter though, till far later now. I mean, I was leaving work recently at 5 o'clock or just after, and it was pitch black. And it's, what time is it now, love?
20 past 5.
20 past 5, and it's only just really starting to go. Now the light, it wasn't too bad by the waterfall, it's dropped quite quickly though since. Bench there, I don't know if it'll pick it up. I was hoping to get as far as at least Red Rock, before we lost the light, but it was going to be a bit of a challenge, especially stopping off at the waterfall. They have made this place quite family friendly though, because you've got benches and you've got bins and you've got little picnic benches over there. I think a Yogi Bear picnic basket. These are things that they've put in over the years, because it was a wild wood. It was basically a wood with a couple of paths that had been made by people tramping through it when I was a kid. It was in the 80s really when they started putting all these gravelly routes down to make it a bit easier. That route up there leads to Wepper Lane. I only know that because it says there on the sign. Got a funny looking fella here. A stone guardian of some kind. There he is. Looks like an angry Viking. I don't know if we have Vikings in this area. We may have done, because it's usually places ending in ton, isn't it, that have Vikings. And we have Shotton here. That's a possibility. I think Williston and Thurston and places like that on the Wirral were Viking. I'm not quite sure how the Vikings operated. I thought they just turned up in a boat, did a bit of pillaging and then cleared off home again. Whether they set up little towns or whatever, I'm not sure. Oh, I'm going to take advantage of this lovely chair. I think we're heading, yeah, right by the Red Rock now. We'll carry on round, see if we can get it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit dark now, but I've got me torch. I've not used it yet because we used it a fair bit yesterday, and I haven't charged it since, so I'm trying to keep it for when it gets really black and we need to get back home and avoid all these muddy wet pools that are on the route back. The brook is still firing its way along down there. Here we've got the red rocks. Now I will get the torch out here because you can't see them, but they are called red rock for a reason. That's because they're red. And they're more wet than red at the moment. If you come here in the summer, they look very red. Is it sandstone? I don't know. I'm not a geologist, but it's red rock anyway. And there's more around the corner here, so I'll turn that off for a sec. You'll probably get a photo, love, if you put your flash on. Well, you've probably got hundreds of photos of red rock, to be fair. Now, it may sound crazy, but a couple of years ago, myself, Anne-Marie and a friend of ours, Jimmy, came for a walk, and it was really late. It was about, I don't know, about 11 o'clock at night. And just for a giggle we said, oh, why don't we go for a walk through Wepper? So we went for a walk through Wepper. It was really dark and black. We had our torches on and what have you. And we got just past Red Rock and further down there's a little bridge. We didn't want to go any further because it was getting late, so we thought, well, we'll get back home now. And as we were heading home, we bumped into an old chap. He was fairly inebriated and was trying to get his way across the other side of the A55, which is miles away. And he said that he was quite happy to make the journey, and off he went. But this was probably about 12 o'clock at that point. This has happened in recent months. The like I was saying about the subsidence we get up here. No, I think that's just making it worse. If you can see there. No, it doesn't really help the torch, but it's collapsed quite badly there. This is more along the lines of the width of the path as it used to be, whereas nowadays it's that wide, right up to the fence there, but it's collapsed and made its way down the hill. Here's the Red Rock. You can see the red a little bit better here. But in the summertime, this is where you'll find most of the teenagers hanging out. They usually go up the top of the rock and chill out, drinking and smoking and doing whatever else they do. I think it's a bit too cold from this time of year, but you never know. But yeah, the pathway has gone. And that'll be making life difficult for the rangers because they won't be able to get their equipment down the path here. There is another notice that's been put in the rocks. Red rocks are made of Hollim rock, apparently. Hollim rock, a warm red sandstone. So it was sandstone, I wasn't going mad. Greatly valued for building. Around 300 million years ago, the warm tropical seas that covered much of this area were replaced by large river deltas. These rivers carry tons and tons of sands, silts and clays and deposit them as sandbanks. Over time these were compressed and cemented together by minerals dissolved in groundwater. Look carefully, you can see the sweeping curves of the river preserved in the rocks. Yulo Castle was built close by on a sandstone outcrop, probably using stone dug out from the moat. Sandstone is a good indicator that coal may be here, and all over the park there are small surface pits, dug as early as medieval times. Coal from the Flintshire coalfields fuelled local industry right up until the end of the last century. So there you go. By last century I think they mean 20th, because they did have a coalfield in Point of Ayre, didn't they? Right, let's give this a quick look over. Can you see sweeping curves of the river preserved in the rocks? Maybe. I've not got the world's best eyes, so. But there's your Red Rock. As you can see when I turn my torch off, it's very dark now. What do you think, love? Should we call it quits there and go back? Yeah, come on.
Where do you want to walk to the bridge?
Come on, you're dying to get to that bridge, aren't you?
You can go back.
It's not far, is it, to the bridge?
Yeah.
Come on then.
Well, I don't mind, do whatever.
I just don't want I don't want us to be without the torch really on the way back. Though we've got our phones, haven't we?
Wow, is the torch no good?
No, it's good. It's just that we were using it a lot yesterday for
Right, okay.
routing, so it's not been charged for quite a while.
Okay.
It's getting it's completely pitch black now, so I may as well stop recording because you can't see anything. And we'll come back again when it's a bit brighter and film a bit more around Wepper. So there we go. Okay, I did eventually stop filming, and the reason being, as you can see, it is pitch black and you can't see a damn thing virtually now. I can only just see with my eyes, but we are about to leave and there's a few street lights right by the visitor centre at the moment again, on our way out and back to the car. So I just filmed the way back out just in case. Yeah, you can't see it, love. You can't even see it with your eyes. Anne-Marie's pointing out there's a map of Wepper on the visitor centre, but it's very dark. I like the old lamps that they've got here. Wish they had those throughout Connoskeer, they're lovely. We're heading now down to where the old main gate of the hall was once upon a time. Now I can't remember if it still actually existed when I was a kid. Posts were here definitely, but I can't remember if the gate was. It may have been. There used to be a massive slide in the kids' play area, but some hooligans set fire to it.
It wasn't fenced off either.
No, it wasn't fenced off
There was no skate parking in there.
No.
There was seesaw outside and on the bikes.
No, they didn't have skate parks when I was a kid. That was an American thing. There's the gate posts. Yeah, the ice cream van still does come. See if I can get a bit of light on it. See, that's the gate. There's the modern.
The toilets in that
gate.
hut there. I think they're admin men toilets.
Yeah.
But I think it's mainly for footballers when they play football. You know, on a Saturday and a Sunday. So I'm sure them toilets have been open to the public.
Obviously, no one's playing football at the moment due to the pandemic, but
toilets are in there. Nice hot chocolate, cream on the top.
there you go. Anne-Marie can give you a bit
Jack
of
potato,
info.
cheese, and afterwards a nice big
Yeah, can you get all that stuff
homemade
in there?
cakes. Oh yeah, they do homemade cakes selection. Do cream teas and scones. You get hot meals,
Yeah.
toasties, jack potatoes.
Last time I went in the visitor centre, there was just a few leaves, a few stuffed animals that have been in there for years with all bits broken off them. They didn't even sell a tin of pop, so it's changed a heck of a lot since the last time I went in there then. It was doing baked potatoes and all this business.
Yeah. You can, in the summer you can sit outside. It does get busy though in there. I don't know, with the pandemic, whether it'll quieten down when it's all over.
I'm quite surprised it's open at all.
I think it's takeout in it. To getting the business going in it.
Yeah.
Probably got like a hot cup of tea and cake or something, or a sandwich or... It's a lot less quieter now, and the gates are closed for the car park.
Like I say, after that information that they had in the article in the Manchester Evening News and the Liverpool Echo, a lot of people started coming during the week because most people were on furlough or whatever, and throughout the weekend, so the place was absolutely heaving. Car park was full, and then once the car park filled, the housing estates were starting to fill up with cars and residents were starting to go balmy. So after a while the the rangers or the police asked for the gates to be closed, so they shut the gates to the car park and started hanging around, making sure that people weren't coming from miles around.
Exercise gym.
Yeah, Anne-Marie's just spotted an exercise gym.
I think it is anyway, I don't know.
It must be a new thing.
We've got one on Bell Seafront, an exercise gym with exercise bikes and everything. I suppose it's alright because it's free and it's open air, but I'd guess the magic back wipes so it's wipe them all down before you go on. It was a bit dark and cold though. But actually not bothered by it being dark and cold.
I don't know. Now, 100 years ago, this would have been the driveway up to the hall. People would be popping up and down here in.
There was farmland too.
Yeah, there was farmland.
Well,
The cows
here.
actually,
Cows here.
yeah, the cows were still coming up here until probably the 80s, maybe the 90s even. There was a farm halfway down Wepper Drive, and it was still open when I was a kid because I used to walk past and you could call in and get eggs and milk and things like that. Then it was sold off and obviously bought by general public type people, so all of that come to an end, and they blocked off the gate that you used to go through and what have you. So, and no more cows etc coming up down here. The agricultural side of Connosky is pretty much gone now. There isn't really much, if anything at all, left here now. There were a few farms, but they've all bit the dust. That's the entrance that you would normally come through. Gates are closed down there, and this is like a little pedestrian entrance you can come through. That's pretty much it now. We're heading off out. It's starting to get a bit black again because we haven't got the lights across over the proper way in. So I'll call it a day again there. Thanks for watching.